Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
PremierBilliards.com. Exceptional cues, cases, and accessories from top-tier brands. Want it? Need it? Find it. PremierBilliards.com.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Doggin It. What's up, Melina?
What is up, buddy? How are you? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. But you dogged it last night. We were supposed to do this last night, man. Where'd you go?
What is up with your video? You're back to being blurry, dude.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, like, you've had better days, is all I'm gonna say.
All right, I'm gonna come out and come back in.
Last day of January. Big shout out to all of our sponsors who help cover our Derby trip and our Derby month, our stream sponsors, our Derby sponsors. Shout out to Alex, man. I got some really fresh gear that I'm super proud of. I got some Paco Lion chalk that I'm giving away to our Patreon supporters. So all you guys who help support the show, be on the lookout for that. I was just telling everyone how we got a bunch of stuff to give away from the Derby. I got some, we took some of that money from our sponsors and we put it back into pool community. I spent some money with Sky and Feder, spent some money with Alex Paco Lion, and so we got some fun stuff to give away to our Patreon show.
It's not putting it back in the pool community. You buying sweatshirts, okay? For you. Where's mine?
Okay, this just got awkward. Can we bring in Raymond already? It took a turn. We're like 2 minutes in, and you're putting.
Am I still blurry?
No. You're looking good. You're looking fresh.
Okay.
Are you're losing some weight? Are you back to fasting again?
I am back to fasting, and I am losing weight, and I'm feeling pretty good. So,
you're
what are
looking
you gonna
good,
do?
buddy.
Actually, I had to fast today because I was getting blood work. And have you ever heard of H. pylori?
No.
It's some kind of bacteria thing. So anyway, they're doing a test to see if I have that. And it's the craziest thing ever because you have to go in and breathe into this bag that then they seal up. It looks like one of those like little pouches your kids would eat, the yogurt or applesauce. So anyway, I blow into that and then I have to drink the most disgusting drink ever.
Ain't nobody trying to hear that, man, on a Wednesday night. We ain't trying to hear all that nonsense. So we're trying to talk.
Then I gotta wait 15 minutes. Then I gotta blow in another thing like that, and then boom.
Look, let me save you the results. You're all right. You're gonna be all right. You're good. You're looking good. Make today good.
All right. Well, I tell you what, I am recovering from all that streaming we did, Derby City. I know you're recovering too. And one of the things that I wanted to do was get Raymond on this show because how many people can say they beat Joshua Filler in 9-ball last week?
I want to get Raymond on the show because I got a major bone to pick with Raymond.
Well, let's bring him in.
Myself. So I got some mad. I don't really have beef with our guest, but I got some mad beef with the best beard in pool, Raymond Linares. Raymond, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
What's the beef?
The beef is, so let me tell you something. The last night of Derby, I said, I'm trying to coordinate. I'm already on fumes for the last 3 days. I'm looking, the round gets delivered, and I'm looking at some matchups, and I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to go to bed because I need some rest. It was like 9-something. I'm looking through some of the matchups. Okay, nothing's really catching my eye. You know what I mean? It looks a lot chalkish, little bit of chalk. And then I go to bed like about 10 p.m. that night. Wake up about midnight with my phone just got about 30 messages, at least 30 messages, because this guy down here beats Josh Filler and wakes me up, man. Wakes me up. I couldn't believe it. Shocks the world. I think Josh lost like 3 matches that night, or 3 matches in the whole tournament. 1 to Pius, not to Pius. 1 to Federer, 1 to Raymond. And I think there was one other one to Shane in one pocket. But you happen to be in pretty good company there, my man.
Yeah, it's like, you don't play pool on paper. Unfortunately, you got to go out there and actually put the balls in the hole. And it was kind of like a perfect storm for me that match, and was really happy to kind of walk myself through it, really, because there was definitely some internal dialogue going on, and it changed throughout the match, but. Yeah.
Any expletives within that internal dialogue?
No, I think I just finished playing Sergio Rivas the round before, and I think I eliminated him, and then they put me right on to the next match. I didn't even hear the table assignment because I was refueling. I had like protein bar with me and some electrolytes and stuff like that. So after every match, I was kind of just refueling along those lines just to get myself ready because I knew I was going to have to expend some more energy. And then I was like, "Oh, you're up on table 16." Our friends that were kind of sweating the action, like, "Oh, you're up on this table." I'm like, "Who am I playing?" And it's like, "Oh, you played Josh." I'm like, "Okay." I grab my bags and walk over, and just started to try and prep myself. I know I kind of went through 3 phases of internal talk. The first was just like, you deserve to be here. This is a match that you belong on this table, and you should just kind of accept that you're going to get an opportunity to play one of the best players, and that's what I'm here for. Personally, for me, is those are the matchups that I want. And then as the match started kind of progressing, I noticed some weakness coming from Josh because he'd been sitting for a little while waiting for a match. A couple errors creeped up, and then I was like, I'm a pretty self-aware guy, and I know how well I've been playing to that point in the tournament. And I said to myself, right now in this set, you might be the better player because he made mistakes that are just not Josh Filler like, 2 misses early on that let me in. And so then my mindset kind of switched and says, okay, let's start imposing ourselves here, not just, be along for this ride and kind of walking another victory into his hands like everybody else had done all weekend. He's obviously playing at a super high level, but let's engage and start imposing ourselves here. And once that started happening, I really locked in and kind of went through my normal process and took control of the middle part of the match. I was up. We had exchanged the first few racks 2-2, 3-3, and then I went up 7-5. And at 7-5 up, right before that, the mindset shifted again, and it said, we're going to win this match, because I was fully confident at that point. I had total control, and I just was starting to affirm myself in the positive, like, hey, we're going to stretch out here and steal one from one of the greats. And I got up 7-5, and I was running out to get up on the hill to go up 8-5, and then I fell for a simple trap. It's probably the biggest mistake I made in the match, which was I started thinking about the external too much, and I started thinking about the outcome. And I'm a storyteller by trade, by profession. Writing is a creative background, and storytelling, that's all I do. So I have to kind of sometimes keep myself in track because I know the ramifications of how big the moment was. And I started kind of living in the outcome a little bit too much, and I lost focus. So
you were already mentally creating your Facebook post.
So you dogged it.
I did, because normally the inclination is to allow that to happen, but then I'm usually really good about bringing my head back and just saying, okay, this next ball, whatever. And so I got on a 7 ball, and I was cloudy a little bit. I wasn't as focused as I needed to be, and I missed a 7 ball because I was thinking, well, I'm going to make the 7 ball. I'm going to run out and break and run out and beat Josh 9-5. That's what I was going to. That's where I was at mentally. But I took for granted the fact that you're playing one of the greatest players ever, and didn't give that 7 ball as much respect as it was due. And I rushed my process there, and I missed. And then I was like, okay, let that go emotionally. And I was like, I know how these matches go. I've seen it happen enough times. I might get one more chance to win the match, right? And whenever it comes, if it comes, just take it. That chance came when I was down 8-7. Josh made it 7-6 after that rack. I think he may have broken ran 2 from there to go up 8-7 on me. And he tried to play a safety to tuck me behind some balls in the kitchen area in the rack spot and send the 2 ball up table. So down 8-7, the 2 ball kind of leaks out, and the cue ball doesn't get behind the ball, and he leaves me a piece of a 2 ball. And I'm working with like an unpublished system right now, and so I have some reference hits that are like real close to me, you know what I mean, that I've worked on and practiced. And it so happens that the ball that he left me was a reference hit for me. That is just like the only amount of the ball that I could see was a shot that I've practiced, 10,000 times in the last couple of years, you know what I mean? Just kind of really honing it in. And it had to be that hit because I needed to hit the ball with stun, and stun adds a little bit of throw. I ended up just getting down. You'll see in the stream, I get down eye level with the ball to make sure that that reference hit that I have to hit, the edge of that cue ball passes by the ball that he was trying to hide me behind. And I promise you, the only piece of the ball that I could hit was the ball hit that made that ball in the corner. And so I back cut the two. I felt super calm and confident with that shot. It looked like a big shot because it was, but I back cut the two ball in, drew it 2 cushions, ran out, went double hill, and then the last rack, you guys were streaming, and that was just a ton of pressure and just a kind of a crazy situation. But eventually we got across the line, making some really good shots and making some good decisions, and finally getting rewarded for that. So it was kind of intense.
You know what I love about this story, Raymond, is that you alluded to it, that the match isn't played on paper. Mm-hmm. But I think now with Fargo rate, with the system where you kind of know if you're an underdog or you're a favorite going into matches. I mean, I've seen players who are only like a slim underdog according to Fargo rate. So maybe they're a 650 and they're against a 675, and it's like, oh, I'll never win this match, or kind of feel that way. I think we did the numbers. I think Nick De Leon sent me a message and said that you were statistically, you had a 1.4% chance of winning that match. Mm-hmm. Yet you go in and win that match.
That was Mike Salmon that sent Nick those numbers. Nick can't count past 4, man. Come on, don't give Nick more credit.
But this is what I love about the story, right? Because I've been telling people for a long time, the matches are played on the table. I don't care how big an underdog you are. Anyone can lose on any given day. And if you bear down and you play your best, almost trick your brain in some ways to say, hey, maybe I'm the favorite in this match. Well, what kind of things going into the match where you kind of thinking about and putting your head in, the right space to be able to even have a chance to compete there?
Yeah, my coach, my sensei, and I have like a running joke whenever these kind of things happen, and we outrun the Fargo statisticians. We always say, "Oh, well, you had a 1.4% chance to win this match, or you had less than 5% chance to beat a higher rated player the way I did." Like I remember last year at Texas Open, I beat Evan Lunda 9-1. And it was like another crazy percentage thing for a 700 Fargo to beat a 750 by 9-1. It's just so we kind of keep track of those things, and it becomes like a fun exercise just to do. But yeah, for me, leading up to the tournament, I had gotten really settled in my own process. So I remember early on in the tournament, round 3, I played Wolford. And that was maybe the only match that I felt probably the most vulnerable in, because I hadn't done a lot of table time practice leading up to Derby. Like I hadn't put in enough training time to, let's say, go in and feel super, super sharp. But I'd had some good tournament, situations locally here in Florida that I had started trending and feeling world-class play coming out of my game December and then January. So when I went through the Wolford match, and that's the first time I'm rubbing up against, let's say, a higher level player where the demands on you to execute are up. Once I got through that match, because I kind of worked myself into form during that match. So by the end of that match, I was really executing at a high level. From that point on, I played above 800 probably for the tournament, because I beat Wolford 9-6, I think. I beat the next guy I played after him 9-1. I played a really top tier set against him. And then I beat Lucas 9-4 to end that day. So I went into that last day, and, now I'm playing filler, after I played my first morning match, and then I played Revis, and then I played filler. So by that point I was really in stroke and pretty comfortable, and just going through my process, I had just kind of been acclimated. And the good thing about Derby, it's kind of a gauntlet, but it forces you to have to start playing good. Otherwise, it's not gonna, you don't have time really to like think too much, really. So you just, as long as you stay in your process and stay, about how you go through the balls and keep things consistent, then you can get to a place where you kind of almost land in like a meditative kind of mental place where you're not really too up or too down. You're just kind of going through your situation. So again, like for me, that internal self-talk was 3 phases, was just kind of relax and show up and be happy that you're there and getting a chance to play. And then once I saw 2 misses come from him, I realized, I've beaten people this whole tournament who have missed, 1 ball, or maybe 2 balls, and that was enough for me to get 3 or 4 racks ahead and win the set. Because really, you're just trying to get to 9 first, right? So if you can take control of the match and be productive with your break, 2 misses is enough to get a 4-game lead on somebody, and I've seen myself do it against other players enough times to have confidence in myself that I can win 3, 4, 5 games in a row and not really, be surprised by that, regardless of who's in the chair.
Well, it's a lot easier said than done, and you made the best of opportunity that not many people will have. And I've seen, top players, like that 800 player established, kind of get rattled by those type of moments, or when they're in that spot and then they got the opportunity and don't make the best of it, man. So, kudos to you for holding your own and, grabbing it by the throat and waking me up,
Yeah.
since you're so inconsiderate, but no, it was funny because I get to the room and that was like all that I was excited about was, seeing Raymond. And I'd seen Raymond when he first showed up, and I saw him downstairs. You don't miss that beard in a room, you know what I mean? It just stands out like a beacon, and so, but I didn't get a chance to speak with them. And then you jumped right into a match after filler, right? You didn't really get a whole lot of time thereafter.
Right. Yeah. So right after Josh, I had to play Roland, and that was another double hill match. You know what I mean? So I was definitely playing pretty well, but that was something that was really hard. That match I felt like was almost harder in certain ways because there was such a, I told myself intellectually, like as I was kind of like thinking about, oh, we're gonna win the match. And then I was thinking like, if you go to give the handshake, just shake hands and move on and kind of keep yourself even keel. But that was, when I had taken control in the middle and I was up 7-5. So I felt like I could deal with the increasing pressure a little bit if I just kept that pace. And let's say I run out and I break and run out and I win 9-5. Then I can compartmentalize the excitement of that because I executed through it and move on, and it's no high drama. But of course, I chose violence on myself and decided
well you should.
because why not? It's like, yeah, let's make this
Yes.
as dramatic as possible, right? So
we love stories too, Raymond. So we appreciate that, by the way.
Maybe I'm a little bit of a sadist when it comes to this stuff, but it's like,
okay,
instead of just winning, you know what I mean, and just doing your thing and winning the way you should. I should have won 9-5. Okay, fine. I missed a 7 ball. Josh does what he does. You can't give him free innings. And at this point, he's, you can tell he's trying to escape from now a dangerous situation, right? So there's respect there now because he's probably never heard of me before, and that's totally fine. It's not really about any of that, but when you go through a match with someone, you really get a chance to feel there's a language that's unspoken, really, when you feel somebody responding to you and then you responding to them. And there's things that kind of get communicated in that exchange that you can only really translate through the competition. So at that point, he knew I wasn't going to really cave so much and it was going to be dangerous. So maybe he's going to outrun it. And I've seen the matches over and over again. Like to your point, I've seen like in reflecting after, I've seen in the last couple of years, friends of mine go close with him, you know what I mean, and lose double hill. Oscar lost at the International, Tyler at the US Open. Darren had him dead to rights and loses double hill. Like
Darren had him a couple times, the last few times they played.
Yeah, world champions who have gotten to double hill and haven't gotten there. And so, to be in that position and to get across the line is really humbling. It's crazy.
Well, like you got to earn respect from these guys, and you earn that respect, by your moxie, by your fight, by your never give up kind of attitude, and I'm sure there was a little bit of the unknown on the other side of the TBD list, and then you caught him by surprise, so to speak, maybe, and then made the best of it. So handed the guy the first loss. Great win, man. I mean, great, and you've had some solid wins throughout. I remember I heard about the Wolford match earlier in the day,
Yeah.
but no disrespect to you, but it was more of, oh, Wolford, has got his first loss, because we're tracking, these guys and kind of seeing, okay, when are they taking an L here and there. But
Sure.
then you went from just making a good win to showing form, which
Yeah.
is a very big difference, Raymond. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And to me, it was funny because I'm pretty self-aware all the time. And so I kind of do a lot of introspection. The Wolford match, I knew if I won that match, it would be good for me because I'd beaten him last year in Boston, and I knew he was really hard up to try and want to beat me this time. So it wasn't like a trend now that would be developing. You never want to give a guy like, let's say keys to the kingdom. And so, because then, you have to face him again, and then that starts to wear on you. And sometimes guys can go and beat you 5, 6, 7 sets in a row, and it's really frustrating. So I knew he was eager to avoid that. But when I got past that match,
I heard he got a little tilted. I wasn't there, but I heard there was some emotions going on there.
You
yeah,
talking about who you talking about, Filler or Wolford?
The Wolford match.
Wolford.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a young player. You know what I mean? And for the most part, like his parents are really strict about the whole, um, composure thing and etiquette and sportsmanship. They do this throughout the juniors and stuff. So I know that's not really who he is, and he just kind of like lost it a little bit, and that's fine. That's normal. It's like he wants to win. To me, that bothers me less than like having it be like a prolonged kind of like habitual pattern. So I mean, he tends to regroup really well too, and he had a solid run after that. So he's entitled to that. It's fine. And
Well, you guys are competitors.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't take that stuff personally ever. You know what I mean? Because I know like he's never like been vindictive like that. You know what I mean? Towards me.
Yeah.
Other guys will be petty, and then you can know when it's being petty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
We know.
Yeah.
We know.
Well, and with the conditions of that tournament, at that stage, once you get to the 9-ball, guys are staying up all hours of the night. Wolford had those sets against Chris Reinhold, so he was probably exhausted, just like a lot of players there. And
Joey,
lost his
Joey, I
cool a
get
little
tilted
bit.
with you when I'm a little sleepy too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like on a
Which is
regular.
When I go to Derby, like I'm never really distracted by the action thing. It's not something that really, if I'm there, it's to try and earn ranking points and to be, invested in the tournament. And Oscar has even commented, he's like, I'll gamble on the side until it's tournament time. And then, that's all I'm going to focus on. So, when you double dip, it gets really hard to kind of keep your energy up and all that stuff.
Did Joey just Johnny Archer me, or what's going on? I don't know. I don't know what happened here. I'm sure he'll come back in a minute. Yeah, it's well, let's talk about that for a second, Raymond, because you mentioned ranking points, and I mean, listen, there's guys who I'll consider maybe on the cusp, and I don't know, if I would put you there as far as like being part of the conversation. Now, you certainly earned that with the wins that you had, and with that comes with results, right? Monetary, right? So now you're on a list and all that, but now you've shown you can have consistency with some of these guys. You mentioned Wolford last year, beating him again this year, getting a leg up when it comes to some of these Americans. What's your goal for, short term, long term in this year, man?
So
what happened? Hold on, before you answer that, Joe, what happened?
You don't even want to know.
Did I?
Look, we got a fire alarm.
You Johnny Arshed me, man. You just dipped out on me, man.
Hey, when my daughter showers, it's like she'll let it get all steamy. Then she'll open the door. It sets off the fire alarm. First, I get a call from the alarm company. I ignore it, hoping they'll call my wife. Then I get a call from the fire department. So I don't know.
I got you. Okay, well,
Yeah,
welcome.
sorry.
Back. My bad.
There was a mental distinction that I kind of got sidebarred on, but I remember going into that match against Filler. It was, for me, the focus, and really this tournament was more of a proving ground to say, I'm familiar with what the top end of my game looks like, and I know what
Right.
the mental processes are that have kept me from that. And so for me, this is now year 3 of, I call it my 5-year plan. But, last year was a lot of like, okay, knowing when there's a misalignment in the physical game side and the mental game side. And I've gotten to a point where that's kind of really rounded off. And so now it was really about, okay, let's close the gap and kind of, start making these decisive wins against the top players. And that's becoming more frequent. So, going into the filler match was really like, can I win this one match against the player of the tournament? And right now, of his generation, right? He's one of a couple that you would say this is the maximum stretch point. And I do a lot of investing in the stretch point for my own personal growth. And I can still play a lot better than I did when I played filler. And it's already at the point where my stretch point is enough to beat and win a match off of him. So going into that match, it was like, can I win the one match? But after that match, there was a realization for me that limit is now gone. And it's really about, can I translate that match win into a tournament win? And after that match, I realized that I can win a major open now. I almost have given myself permission to do that. And that is the power of investing in your stretch point and doing things that push you to your limits beyond what you maybe give yourself credit for. And I have a lot of people that are close to me, and I'm very grateful for people that are wiser than me and that speak into me above what I see in myself, because sometimes you don't believe it in your own self. But like, there are some people that I told, hey, I beat filler, and they're like, it's about time. And that's humbling for me because I have struggled in the past, especially, life is hard to manage, and people don't talk about the struggles that you go through to put yourself in position to hit the window of preparation and opportunity. And a lot of times we take ourselves out of that. I almost didn't come to Derby for other, just reasons. I would have missed out on probably
because it's Derby. I get it. And you don't got to tell me.
It's just time, it's investment, and it's money, and it's a lot of factors that go into just going, and life has a way of kind of, you go through these seasons and these cycles. But, I've worked really hard on myself, the last few years to get myself ready. And I've had matches that have not gone my way. I've had matches that I've lost, painful matches that I've lost, that I probably should have won if I would have just been closer to where I'm at now. But you have to go through that suffering and enduring a little bit of that pain, and your brain learns how to absorb that information and apply it. You know what I mean? And you kind of have to go through that refiner's fire a little bit. But when you come out the other side, you start getting to a place where you feel like you're ready and you're hardened to beat anyone.
I feel like that mental approach, Raymond, could help so many players out there, because I feel like pool is that game when you're on top of the world and things are going right. There's a lot of ego involved, and you see a lot of players that think they're great until they get humbled and put back in their place. And some of them never really recover, right? That once they stretch themselves and try to compete against the big boys, and they go out on tour and they don't really do well. And then you don't hear from them for a little while. I can name names, but I'm not going to. But
we need names.
I'm curious. I really want to know, like, at that moment, I saw Josh make some gestures about, some rolls that you maybe got in that last rack, and, things that kind of rolled your way. And did you find any of that disrespectful? And what was said at the handshake point? Was there anything there?
First of all, Josh was very gracious to me before the match and after. He just kind of gave me his hand, and he was probably more frustrated about stuff. Whenever I withdraw frustration from a player, whether it's directly because they don't have control and they're mad, or something happens and they get upset because they didn't get a good roll, I just write those down as bonus points. I love those things. Those are like credits for me. I would you got lucky from whoever, 850 and Fargo higher. I don't care. That's awesome. That's, for me, that's good. So for me, that's a positive reframing, because I'm unless I play a perfect set on you, I don't really have any grounds to say that like I dominated you or anything like that. What I will say, people have made some comments about like, oh, he got lucky on that last 8-ball. I look at things from a perspective of, are you making winning decisions, and how are those decisions being reflected in the rolls, right? To my estimation, I made 3 winning decisions that last rack that didn't get rewarded, right? I made a really nice cut shot on that 4-ball to try and break open that 2-ball cluster, the 5-7. And I knew the cue ball was going to track towards that cluster. If I hit the top of the 7, the cue ball goes to the rail and comes out. The 5 dresses up, and the match is over. There is no more drama. I happen to slide just past the 7 and not break it up. Okay, fine. I get underneath the 5-7 and I play a tough combination up table. 7-ball hits center pocket, like Luke Skywalker blowing up the Death Star. It hits center cup. And now if the cue ball and the 5-ball end up in an angle of any kind, this way or this way, the match is over. I'm out and there's no drama at all. Instead, I end up dead straight, hardest place that you can be. And now I have to manage an awkward position. And so then I decide, well, do I want to try and flatten this ball out and go 3 cushions? But where the 9-ball was, it's kind of big for me to get the deep enough angle to get high on the 8. So I didn't like that. And I also know that if I'm putting high and inside close to the cushion, the ball tends to dive in, and at distance, a little bit of that curve kills you and you rattle the ball. So I don't want to miss the ball. So then I decide, well, if I go between the 8 and 9 with the cue ball, with the stun, there's 5 good things that happen for me, and I win the game. I could hit the top of the 9 and carry 1 rail above the 8. The match is over. I can go 1 rail behind the 8, hit the bottom half ball, push the 8 to the side, stop, the match is over. I can go behind the 8, hit the top of the 8, push it towards the corner, stop, the match is over. I can hit the 8 directly coming back, bump the 8 up table, get the shot in the corner, the match is over. The only awkward thing that can happen going that pattern is what happened to me, which is going between the 8 and 9 and push the 8 out into the middle of the ether, where it's now thin cut in the side, thin cut in the other corner. And that's the only bad. And so now I'm like, I've made 3 winning decisions in a row and still haven't been rewarded with just the tap. And I've seen these guys, these top players, make less intelligent decisions under pressure and get away with murder. And they just treat it like, oh, well, I'm the best player ever, And so I'm like, okay, I took the 1 of 5. I took a gamble and I said, okay, I got 1 out of 5. So I play the back cut on the 8 and I play cue ball speed to get flat on the 9, because I don't want to have to deal with a big angle and I don't want to super baby it. And I caught the point and it hit the other point, and it finally gave me a little bump, a little rub, And meanwhile, I've come with those 3 good winning decisions plus the triple tough back cut on the 2-ball and run out from the last rack. I'm making decisions to win the match. And now I'm finally getting a little bit of reward for, like giving myself a chance. So of the 9,
think about it. Yeah.
Of the 9 games, yes, I got lucky 1 game, and it happened to be that last game where the 8-ball laid funny. But then when he got to the table, he made a losing decision, trying to play to the left side of the 8. For a player of his caliber to try and go off the left side of the 8, that's like way below standard. So that tells me he wasn't thinking correctly and he was taking the heat. So the only way to win that game from that position is to kick at the 8. And he knew that, and he fought himself on it, and he chose a losing shot.
Yeah, right after the match, he set up the kick, if I recall. Yeah.
It wasn't exactly laying right, but at least you can tell that he was weighing those 2 things, and that he chose against the winning option because he was uncomfortable with the idea of kicking at a ball that he could see. Those are things that I practice regularly, and I would have fired at that kick 100%, because I know if I make the kick, the match is over and I win, right? And that's a winning decision. So Josh, in the most pressure situation, did not make a winning decision, and unfortunately it cost him that rack. And then, he conceded the 9, which is fine. That's just how match play goes sometimes.
So we're going to have Josh on later in the week. And so this is your opportunity. You beat him once. Would you like to call him out for a big money match, you against Josh Filler? That's what this is all about.
That's why the only reason why I brought you on, for sure.
That's great. I'm sure. There are backers from this planet and any other nearing galaxies that would love to back him against me in a money match. But, I'm here. I'm here to play races to 9, 11, and 13, and win and try and win tournaments. And as big as that win was for me, Josh turned around and won 3 out of the 4 tournaments at Derby. So it's very nice, and it's very humbly. It's humbling to be acknowledged for beating the best player on the planet right now. But he's setting the standard for what's possible right now. And so I think, beating him 1 set is great, but it also made me, when I'm just in my reflection, like really the standard is you got to beat him 2 sets in each discipline to go over there and really be, to be really excited about what you're doing playing pool. For me, it does excite me because, I woke up this morning and I'm the only American player that has a winning record against Josh Filler as of this morning. So that was a very encouraging thing for me to think about and to, just reflect on as I continue to improve and make my march towards the top. So.
Wait, the 1-0, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm the only American player who has a winning record against Josh Filler.
Is that true, or are you just assuming?
Hold on.
Name another American player who has a winning
Well,
record.
I'm saying he might have played in some
Timeout.
bar box tournament somewhere, raced a 2 or something, and some American beat him. I don't know.
About 9-ball, the only professional standard.
Oh, okay.
Well, look
So-
at our top player is, has a terrible record against Josh, right?
That's true.
So,
with the match, you beat Josh, something nobody else did in 9-ball, and that match had major, or could have had major implications on Master of the Table, on the 9-ball.
I did my part for Team Federer, for Team USA.
What's that?
I did my part for Team USA, to try and help out Federer and help him get across the line. We talked about it after the tournament, actually.
Yeah. Well, of course, we had the controversy there with when Joshua played Jason, and we were actually streaming that match at the time. Jason was down 5-0, scratches in the side on a really weird angle, and then comes up, puts his hand around Josh's neck, says something to him, and then you see Jason breaking down his cue, and that match is over.
I heard the Godfather theme playing in the background. I don't know if you heard it, but it was very, very much those vibes. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. Like, I all of a sudden got put into the middle of a very, very consequential situation for Master of the Table, and everybody was stopped and watching that match, that round, and then I find out that like Emily Fraser is watching the match, and all the Matchroom people are watching the match, and Federer and all these players, because it has huge ramifications for Master of the Table. That was like also, in reflection, I was like, wow, that's kind of a huge deal that I'm, affecting the payouts and livelihoods of these guys who are, at the top of the pool world. It's unfortunate that Jason decided to drop out, I guess, and forfeit to Federer. I mean, to Josh. I know they're friends. I get it. Like, that's a homer move for your guy. It's also kind of like undermining Federer directly. I think, I could never do that. Really, I don't think. From an integrity standpoint, I think, I want to, like, I have trouble even asking for or accepting when my friends try and say, hey, do you want to split, money in the finals and just play for the trophy and all this other stuff. And it's like, if I don't know you, I'm probably going to say no to that, and if I don't have an established relationship with you where it's kind of just more of like, you're my brother and, yeah, we'll just, play for the title and there's still honest competition there. And there's fans that are staying up in the wee hours of the morning trying to see good tournament play. But, that's also a thing that I could add to my cap, I guess, that I won more games against Josh than Jason did. But
Go ahead, Mike.
No. I'm looking up this American head-to-head. I got this thing from Fargo Rate that I'm trying to confirm or deny this stat here because it's pretty awesome. But it just there's a lot going on, and it's not even just a win. It's like it's the moment of the win. It's not like an early round at some at some event where you're building up on something. Like, this is Derby, this is on a last day or two of the event, you're
Yeah.
talking about it's the absolute cream at that point. And yeah, it's a grind, and yeah, it's late nights, and yeah, it's this, but it's a certain type of class of player that's in there, and you were in there. You followed that up with a uh, um, hill match against Roland, who Roland is notoriously gone deep in events whenever he's here in the States. So, and I've told guys this before when they maybe get down on themselves after losses, and you kind of alluded to this earlier, but it's like you have these steps within your career, where it's like you're not supposed to beat them, you're not supposed to beat them, then you think you're supposed to beat them, then you beat them, and you transition, and then the floodgates can really open up whenever you cross that bridge, and finally get that monkey off your back, and you can start playing more free. I said this about Shane for years. It's like, once he got that world championship, look out, world, because that's a whole different ball game now. Because now he's not wearing the weight of, I have to become a world champion on his shoulders anymore. And he's able to play a lot more loose and aggressive, and just kind of be who he is, and just a monster player. And the same can go for you, Raymond. So, are you looking to make a Mosconi run this year then, given the way you started 24?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a feeling that I've been after. I know when I was kind of at, let's say, my peak as far as dominance goes in the collegiate ranks, there was this feeling where I didn't care who I played, and I just went out and played my game because I knew that was enough. And that was enough for me to go and execute. And I won 3 collegiate nationals doing that, and I won a U.S. amateur championship doing that. And I was very self-assured and just calm and quiet about who I was. And I've been searching for that feeling again, getting back into professional competition. This was the first tournament where I felt that in my bones fully. And, against Josh, and against Wolford, and against, Lucas, and, against Roland. And, the matches that I lost were very close matches with 800 Fargo players. And,
Yeah.
I was up 8-7 and breaking against Roland. So, I broke dry, and he had a ticky tack out, and then he broke and ran. And, sometimes it goes that way, and, fair play to him. And, he won a couple more matches before he finally, fell. But I've been looking for that feeling. And now that, I've kind of found it, my hope is that just becomes a standard again, because I know that I've felt my strongest, and I play my strongest when I don't really worry about who I'm playing, and it's just me. So I don't have anything to prove it to anyone, really. So it's hard to get to that place in this arena, because this arena means the most to me. And my goal is obviously, if you go to my Instagram, I have a pool Instagram, and in the description it says future Mosconi Cup player. That's my dream, is to make the team. And I'm at a place in my life now where I can dedicate sufficient time to playing and travel to ranking events and earn my spot. I spoke to Emily actually after the Wolford match, and I asked her, I was like, how does year 1 points affect rankings and eligibility for Mosconi Cup? And she told me that they're only inviting World 9-Ball Tour pros, so top 128 guys who have signed a contract to compete in the Mosconi Cup. And I told her, I was like, this leaves a weird kind of opportunity to happen where, if, let's say, somebody who's outside the 128 wins the US Open, then this would be the first time in history that, Team USA is not represented by its US Open champion, if that were to happen. However,
Is that true? Is that stat true?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's always been like an unspoken rule that if you win the US Open, you're on the Mosconi Cup team, regardless of what's going on. But, and it makes sense, because you win the US Open, like, you're playing the best that year, you should be represented on Team USA. And so right now, I know they're working towards establishing something more structured, and, it's obviously a super outlier, but my goal at the moment is to try and make that, uncomfortable reality come to fruition if I can.
Well, I think it's just mainly you got to take advantage of whatever opportunities you got, even if you're not a part of the 128, and you do that with spots like this. You do that by playing strong in the regionals, where you're not forced into that, 128 or 256 vacuum where you got to, make sure you sign up in time. It's like you look at guys like, look at Josh, for example, didn't have a great year
Yeah.
matchroom pool wise. Look at Tyler. Didn't necessarily have the best year when it came to rankings, but these outside events like a Texas Open, and things like that, where it's like but you have these spots like within a year where you make yourself part of the conversation. You think about like Wolford in Sacramento last year where he had the W. You know what I mean? So it's like these certain spots where like you get on the radar, you stay on the radar, and then you just show form, consistency. You know what I mean? And so that these are great opportunities, and you're making the best of it, man.
So wait, awesome. I want to get clarification on this. Are you saying that you accumulated points here with this event, obviously?
Yeah.
Let's say you go to Massachusetts, you play in that event, and you accumulate more points, and all of a sudden we're in a situation where it comes October, and you're in the top 3 in points. You're not eligible for Moscone Cup. Is that what she told you?
I'm pretty sure that's how it is at the moment. They're only inviting World Nine Ball Tour, so which means it's about 18 guys, I think, that are currently signed for Americans.
Hold on, say that again. Wait, say that part again.
He's asking that if I finish top 3 in year 1 points, right, for Moscone, would I be eligible for? Because
what Raymond said is that if you're not on the World Nine Ball Tour, you are not eligible for the Moscone Cup.
Right.
No, but we can get clarification on that. But if we're
going to need to, because that's an interesting scenario.
If you're top 3 on rankings in the American rankings, then you're in on automatic. So I don't think that there's any situation where that could be undermined in my opinion. But we can find out.
It's hard to do that now too. You have to be able to be at least one of the top 3 guys, right? Which is Shane, Skyler, and Feder on points. So somebody would have to have an off year, but they're traveling to all the big events and they're getting more reps against those guys. So my strategy's been, as far as Moscone Cup stuff, just go to the regional events and continue to try and show form and have top finishes and just let that stuff go.
And criticize the captain after the Moscone Cup ends.
Well, I'm a fan too, for sure.
Well, I want to get your take on that. I want to get your take on that because obviously, you had some pretty strong opinions after the Moscone Cup. We had you on the show. It was a fun episode. But then you go to Derby and you got to see Jeremy, Shane. How did anybody treat you different? Do you think they knew about some of the things that you had said or anything like that?
It's a small pool world, so I'm sure like stuff gets said. I have good relationships with pretty much all those guys, and I think having opinions. I'm not here to baby people. If I disagree with something that goes down, like we're gonna have that conversation because that's how we improve. When I make dumbhead mistakes, I want somebody to tell me like I that I made that mistake, and I received that like, okay, thank you for investing me, because otherwise you wouldn't care. I think we all care deeply about Team USA and about what happens with the Moscone Cup. And nobody wanted to see, Jeremy pull out a W more than me. I wanted it for him, because I knew that even if he won, it was probably going to be tough for him to come back and be captain. And so, I want the best from my guys. I get frustrated when I see them not do their best, and it's a team setting. So there's extra dynamics there that are involved, and it's complicated, and it's a hard puzzle to solve, especially when you have a really talented European team. But I'm the kind of guy, and I wanted to iterate this point. We're talking about this stuff, and we're talking about like, a big moment for me personally in winning. I'm the kind of person, and you guys may not know this, but we'll have more conversations and stuff in the future. But I'm the guy who I want to climb the mountain that people say can't be climbed. That's just who I am. If there's a mountain that they say you can't get there, I'm going to go get there. And that's how I've lived my life in everything I've ever done. That's why I've been successful in everything I've ever done, is because I don't accept not getting there. So whether it takes me 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, I'm going to climb that mountain and I'm going to get to the top. This is the beginning of year 3 for me, back into competitive play. after years away, and I've already beaten the best player in the world. And I know that there's room for me to improve. So I have a message for everyone else who's watching this and listening to this, that you don't dare accept other people placing glass ceilings on your potential, because there are a lot of people who are comfortable with putting you in a place where they have ceilings for you and limitations for you, and they pass those on to you. And they do that very casually without knowing what your heart is and who you are as a person. And if you accept that, then you sell yourself short and you never reach your full potential. I fully reject the people who have been open about trying to tell me where I belong and that I'm punching above my weight class and that I don't deserve to be, and it's a fluke and all this other stuff. Those people are comfortable being mediocre. And I don't hang around with those kind of people, because really their opinions don't matter to me. The opinions that matter to me are those that understand and see the effort and see the mindset and see the consistent push towards improving. And then when something like this happens, they say, I'm not surprised because I know you. So for those people who are out there and they have people in whatever stratosphere you are of pool, you're a 400 Fargo wanting to get to 600, a 600 trying to get to 7, somebody who took years and years away and now it's just starting to come back. Whatever you could have been a world champion and you're trying to get back into form. I believe in the people who put effort and reinvest in themselves. And those are the people that go out there and win and get things done. So that's the kind of person that I am. And regardless of who I lose to, regardless of what setbacks I have, that's just my mindset. So
Raymond, that's a great message for people to hear. I mean, it's really, I love that. Don't settle for the ceilings that people put on you, basically. And it makes me want to go out and hit balls right now. Really, like, it fires me up. It's exciting. And I bet you a lot of people out there that hear that have probably done that. I know I've done it to myself before. Somebody says, oh, you can't beat that person. And I believe it. Yeah. Right. And why? Why do I believe that?
Yeah. I mean, you can't have wins like this if you don't believe that you can win. Right. You can't.
Yeah. Gosh. First step.
That's why the first thing I told myself after I got settled with, okay, we're here, it's 2-2. I'm like, you might be the better player in this set right now. For these next 10 games, you might be the better player. And then it was, you're going to go win this set, And when you have that belief in yourself and you're not gaslighting yourself, you've put in the work and you believe in the effort and you have the incremental evidence that says, you put down this, I ran a 5 or a 6 or a 7 on this person. I came from behind against these people. These next 6 games, can I get to 6 games before him? Yeah, of course I can. Yeah.
That's it. I'm going over to Nick DeLeon's house tomorrow. It is on like Donkey Kong. He's going down.
It's also King of Arizona, baby.
There you go.
Raymond, you had some other big wins in the event too that kind of got a little bit overshadowed because of the Joshua Filler, but we watched Lucas Werner play at times in the banks and just at different times during the week. And I was really impressed with his game. And you beat him pretty handily.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on his game?
I really like Lucas's game. I think there's certain people that you see kind of like you can determine kind of how they're built. And he's really built with like a high escrow of talent. Like he's got a ton of talent. And, with people who are talented, I tend to see a pattern of them not putting in the work behind that. And that tends to be the caveat with them. I don't necessarily think that's the case with Lucas. I think he's in a scenario where he's kind of committed to the game and he plays it and he's, done really well in one pocket in different, events and, really shows up. So I know he's a very dangerous player. He actually beat me in Boston last year. We played in the Amazing Billiards event. I had a really, really great tournament that event. I beat Wolford 9-2 that event. I beat Jose Alberto Delgado 9-5 that event. I had Nick DeLeon. He had me stuck 6-0, and I came back and beat Nick 9-8 that event. And I felt really, really strong in that tournament. But they put me on a the one Rasson table that was different from every other table, and super fast cloth and the rails. And my game is really built on speed. The speed control for me is huge in my safety play and my pattern play. And I never really got settled, and I wasn't productive on my break in that particular match. And that was my elimination match. So I was kind of like clued in to really want to, take it to Lucas and take control early. And I think I came out of the gate with like a 3 or a 4 pack and kind of really set the tone early. And he came back strong in the middle of the match, but I put him in a spot, and he took a poor push out option that ended the match for him, basically, which I was a little bit surprised by. But I think he's one of those players that has a high upside. I think he is one of those players that also needs to round out the game and dip into the well less. He goes too much into the talent bucket too much. And to me, I see a lot of players that, like, for instance, people will complain sometimes that let's say I play Josh, right? And I'm taking my time and playing slow, but I know that I don't want to try and out sprint the fastest runner. Like, that's a dumb strategy. That's not a smart way to play pool. You're trying to win a set. I'm not going to stand in the middle of the ring and try and out punch Tyson. This is an unintellectual way to approach things. I'm a very cerebral player. So I'm going to go through my process and find the most efficient ways for me to run out, and then put you in the most inefficient ways for you to escape. You know what I mean? And have control. My goal is to keep control as long as I can. And that's how I win. And so I think the tendency, especially with young players who are very like gunfighter, kind of brash, is that they want to fire from the hip too much, and then they overextend themselves and leave themselves in spots where, they're vulnerable or naked, or it's kind of like an all-in kind of shot. So I think maybe he does that a little bit too much. Shaw was like that early on. That's why he never won until he kind of got more settled and like became a little bit more smart as a player. But as far as iterating goes, he's getting all the reps he needs, and he's got a great support system. I'm very jealous of his support system in the Northeast. The Sharks Dream crew, they put their boy in action all the time. They match him up, and he's got nice wins against great players and, contemporaries, young Europeans like Moritz and stuff like that. Like, he's got the ecosystem around him to really do well, as long as he, continues to be humble and continues to work and put it in. So it's one of those things that it's really up to him. Yeah.
Well, Raymond, we're almost at the hour mark. So where do we go from here? Tell us your schedule. Give us an idea of what events you're going to be playing in. I know you have a job as well, and kind of trying to manage that and still get out to events. So let us know what's on the calendar for you, and maybe some folks you'd like to kind of call out or thank for their support.
Joey's just trying to get you to start matching up. Joey's going to be your manager now, trying to get you to start barking at people, man.
I've about the matching up thing. I love competition, and I've never been the person to air barrel somebody or waste their time. I do spar. Do. No, never. I won't ever do that. I'll never bet what I can't afford. I live on a budget, and the way this inflation works, I'm really solid for $50-$100 set practice with anybody. I played Gang Float when he came down to Orlando before he left back to Norway, and wrestled with him before the Connecticut tournament. So
how'd you do against him?
We broke even.
That's pretty good, Raymond. 10 ball, 9 ball?
9 ball. We played Matchroom 9 ball format. And it's funny because he asked me the first set, how many sets can you play? And he kind of like, and like, we have to at least play 3. And then I beat him the first set. And he was like, you can tell he was like, oh crap, this is not like walking the
Attaboy.
Next 2 ranking events for me are going to be Boston Amazing Billiards, and then the Virginia event. There's a Virginia event in May. I'll go to that. I'll go to the U.S. Open for sure. I'll never not go to the U.S. Open again. And so, I have a certain amount of vacation time that I can take every year, and that's going to be allocated towards Matchroom 9 ball events until I snap off a major, and somebody, I have to talk to somebody about letting me on the team. So that's the goal.
Who you got in your corner?
Oh, I'd like to thank for sure Dominic Aragi, my custom cue builder. He built me the cue that I played with at Derby. Derby was the 1-year mark that I got it. It's called Excalibur. It's a beautiful cue. And
it is. I've seen it. I've seen it.
Well, a lot of people on the stream were asking about it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't know a whole lot about it, but it's good to hear about it now.
Joe,
Dominic,
contractually, Joey's only allowed to say Q-Tech, so don't worry about that. Yeah. It's part of
just
the deal.
expletive that out. Dominic built a really beautiful Q. He does a hybrid carbon shaft, so it's half wood, half carbon. Super low deflection, lower deflection than a Revo, but lots of feedback and feel, and beautiful figure woods and ring work. And his machining is awesome. So it's really exceptional. I'd like to thank my coach too, Sensei, who's out there. It's a shout out to him. You know, his mom's going through a little medical kind of scenario right now, and we were talking before the tournament, and he said, you know, the best thing that you can do for her and for us is to just go out there and give every inning and every rep, you know, your maximum attention and try and perform as best you can. So I dedicated that win over Josh to him and his mom. It's a very kind of like personal thing for somebody who's close to me, and it was kind of surreal to get that done. Thinking about him before the match, it also puts into perspective. You know, we think about, you know, oh, it's stressful trying to go out there and win a match. You know, there are people dealing with life and death situations all around us, and it kind of, you know, reminds us what's really important in life and how it's just, you know, just at the end of the day, it's just playing pool. So,
yeah, Raymond, but you know, you can also inspire through performance.
Yeah.
Know? And so, and with dedication and with heart and with spirit and effort, you know, I think you did that for those who believe in you, those who knew you, maybe those who don't, you know, and then maybe those who are learning about you today, and if they haven't before, you know, and just talking through all this, because it's good stuff, man. You know, I love your attitude. You know,
yeah, I've gotten a lot of. I mean, I sent Joey some screenshots of just like overwhelming support from people who have been very gracious to me, you know, after the match. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for all the love and care.
Yeah, he's been through that himself. You know, when he went on that Super Billiards Expo run a couple years ago. I don't know if you got a few minutes.
Countless messages,
we can tell you about it. You know,
fanfare.
He knows the routine. You know, if you got some time though, he'll let you
know.
No,
look, Raymond, Derby was epic this year. You know, the fact that we were able to stream so many matches, there were so many storylines, but to me, the best storyline of the whole event was you beating Joshua, because nobody else did that in 9-ball. And it was clear when that event was over, everybody has to admit he's the best player in the world right now. And the sad part is, for everyone else, that he seems to be getting better. Yeah. And he's the highest rated in the world. He's playing the best pool in the world, and it's scary. And there were times where even in the one pocket, we watched him play Lunda and win a match in 9 minutes. It was crazy. And, you know, it's not playing somebody who doesn't know how to play. It's playing Evan Lunda. And so he's at top form, and you end up beating him. It's a true David and Goliath story, but hearing you talk about it today, it wasn't that way for you. It was, I can win this match. And I love that. And I hope more people kind of take that to heart. Like, it doesn't matter who you're playing. Believe in yourself and execute the way you know how, and you can get it.
Every year there's Americans who make themselves part of the conversation with their play. You know, we saw that with Nick a couple of years ago. We saw that with Lucas last year, and I'm just using those two as examples. But every year it's inevitable. You know, even Wolford a few years ago. You know, so looks like you're on the radar, my man. If you weren't before, you certainly are now. So massive congratulations, Raymond. That was a lot of fun, and thanks for waking me up again. By the way, I'm not bitter at all. So.
I'll give you some kind of sleeping tonic or something to make up for
I appreciate it. Yes, please do. Wait, how many, if you don't mind me asking, what was the points you earned during with your finish?
I think it was 1,400 or 1,500 round 10, and I think I was the last American-born player standing. I'm not sure if Danny Olson also went out in round 10 or if it was round 9, but I think we were the last 2 American-born players still kicking. So somebody told me that too, and I was like, oh wow, that's pretty awesome too. You know, just thinking about that, considering who was in the field. But
we can go back and check, since that website's so easy to navigate. So we can we'll confirm that in no time, buddy. But Now, hey, listen, it's always a pleasure having you on. Joe, you got anything else, buddy?
No, man, I just wish you the best, Ray. You cannot follow this up with a 2 and out, man.
I know.
We're expecting big things now. Next event, you got to knock off somebody else. Just keep putting them down.
I'll do my best, man.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining, Ray. Everybody, thanks for joining. Shout out to our sponsors. You've seen them toggling the whole episode here. And if you're not checking us out on Patreon, check us out, patreon.com/doggingit, and we will